The value study looks like a drawing assignment, but in actuality, it is focused on recognizing lightness and darkness of different colors and understanding how we see form through the contrast of light and dark. So you're going to be working from a photograph of your choice, and that's your source image, and it can be of any subject as long as it depicts form that's delineated, mean that is represented with light and shadow. So you can't use pattern, you cannot use illustration. It needs to be photographic, pulled from a magazine, downloaded from the internet, a photo that you yourself have taken in the past that has good light shadow definition. You don't need to select a human figure. It can be architectural, it can be animal, it can even be landscape. The choice of photo is up to you. Choose something that you want to work with. Just don't choose a painting or a drawing or a cartoon, and avoid things that are overly photoshopped and distorted. So the premise is that we see form because of value contrasts. And the value contrasts are caused by light and dark, light and shadow relationships. So using your source image, you're going to use the principles of light logic expressed as value contrasts to create the illusion of volume in a two-dimensional plane. You're going to create a value scale. You're going to grid off your source image into a 4x5 area with half-inch increments in that grid, and you're going to enlarge it to an 8x10 drawing. And you'll do this by plotting where the contours in the source image meet up with the grid that you've drawn onto the image. So it's a matter of recognizing where things are positioned more than it is dealing with creating a drawing from life freehand. The grid is going to assist you in making a worthy representation of the source image, and then the grayscale is going to assist you in determining what values to apply to the drawing. Okay, for the initial lay-in, you can see that over here, the graphite pencil marks where I have set up for my grayscale. And then on the same paper, I have laid out my 8x10 grid. Every unit is 1 inch. You can see that the graphite lines will have a sheen to them that the light will pick up. You'll be able to see them, but they're not going to actually show up as a major point of contribution to the final design. And now I've taken my photo and I've ruled out a 4x5 grid, which is 50% of the 8x10. And instead of inch increments, I am using half-inch. So it's a half-inch square grid. I still have 80 sections. There are 10 horizontal and 8 vertical for 80 sections, but they're half the size of the 1 inch. Okay, so I've got my grayscale established. Here in the middle, that's the tone of the paper, so there's nothing there. So that value is already established by the paper. With the black pencil, you're going to go darker, light pressure, medium pressure, and dark pressure. And if you want to augment this with some black marker, you can. And then on the lighter end, we have light pressure with the light gray pencil and heavier pressure with the light gray pencil, and then white. So this is going to be a 1/2 inch by 3.5 inch scale. And when you present your final project, you're going to trim this out and cement it down onto the dark gray board. And the thing about the values is that within your image, you're going to match value for value. So the lighter values are going to show up in the highlight areas, maybe a little bit in the hair, and definitely in the background area. And then of course the darker values will show up where the darker values exist within the image. So you've established your middle value here by virtue of the paper, and looking at this photo, that middle value is probably going to be here in the shadow areas around the eye, around the nose, and here on the side of the jaw, and probably in here on the vest. And everything from there goes lighter or darker. So here's the photo that I'm using, and it's gridded off into 4x5 with half-inch increments. And here I am plotting using the graphite onto the larger 8x10 grid and basically setting everything up to start drawing. And it's basically simply identifying where that nostril hits on that grid line and within that square space. It's kind of on the bottom, and it's a little bit in from the next connection point, that little intersection there and that one there, so it's about a quarter of the way in to that, and that's where I've got it. It's about a quarter of the way into that square. So now I'm just continuing to build up tone, working darker, pushing into the ground, and then pulling things up lighter, kind of working back and forth in various areas as I continue to develop the drawing. And again, leaving the midtones just the paper, because the paper is the mid-tone. So I'm working lighter and I'm working darker.